this bill, SB 727, that is looking to bring school choice to more Missourians. And so we wanted to talk today to Corey DeAngelis, who is, I don't know if he's the father of school choice, but he is the greatest warrior for school choice that I know. He's a national director of research at the American Federation for Children and an adjunct scholar at the Cato Institute. Corey, welcome back on the show. It's good to have you here.
Hey, Annie, thanks for having me.
I want to give you the opportunity to talk a little bit about what Missouri is doing specifically, but I did also see, I think it was Louisiana, just had a pretty good step in the process of getting school choice for kids there. I know Tennessee is working on things and Arizona. It's happening all across the country, and Missouri is at the top of this list right now. Tell me about the movement towards school choice on a nationwide scale right now before we get to the specifics of the state of Missouri.
Absolutely. With the COVID school closures induced by the teachers' unions, Randy Weingarten and her union lackeys overplayed their hand and awakened a sleeping giant, which happens to be parents who want more of a say in their kids' education. Through Zoom school, or what most people call remote learning, we saw what was happening in the classroom. Parents got fired up. Conservatives started pushing back against the status quo. And now we have 11 states nationwide in the past 3 years alone that have passed universal school choice. This is Milton Friedman's vision, ideas coming to fruition finally, meaning everybody's eligible, regardless of income, background, zip code. Every family in these 11 states can now take their kids' education dollars to the public, private, charter, or home-based education option of their choosing. And as you rightly mentioned, just yesterday, the Louisiana House overwhelmingly passed a universal school choice bill by a vote of 71 to 32. That's a supermajority support in the Louisiana House. And notably, there were some Democrats that voted in favor of it as well. In fact, about 20% of the Democrat caucus in Louisiana House voted in favor of the bill. The tides are turning. The Republicans and the Democrats now in some places are starting to turn their backs on the special interests who used to control them. And we're seeing movement in Tennessee, like you said. In Wyoming, a rural state, they passed their first education savings account program this year. And then also in Georgia, we had their first education savings account program pass as well. So all eyes are on Missouri as well right now. Not a universal bill, but it is a huge step in the right direction. Senator Koenig was correct in that sound clip that you played. School choice is a rising tide that lifts all boats. 26 of the 29 studies on this topic nationwide find that private school choice competition leads to positive effects on the outcomes in the public schools. They up their game in response to competition. So it's a win-win solution. This proposal would expand the existing school choice program to every county, so everybody can be eligible regardless of geography. Families can also access those funds because it expands the amount of funding that's available for the initiative in Missouri by about 50%. So this is a huge step in the right direction. It's not perfect. It's not all in like these other states that we're seeing, but this moves the ball forward, and hopefully in a future legislative session, you can join states like Louisiana that look like they're going to go all in this year.
I appreciate that assessment of the situation on a nationwide standpoint. I was going to ask you about Louisiana and the Democrats who are involved, because I think you could go look at a map and be like, red state, red state, red state. Missouri, supermajority of Republicans in both the House there and the Senate. I live in Illinois, supermajority of Democrats over there, and we're not racing towards school choice for everybody. The default in the education system is public school. And that's the thing that is threatened when school choice is put on the map, because if school choice is implemented, people can still choose to go to the public schools that they so much love. So if you love your public school, my understanding is you can keep your public school.
If you like your public school, you can keep your public school.
Unlike
but
your
for
doctor.
real this time.
Yeah, exactly.
Unlike with your doctor.
But Corey, if public school is the current default, but also without actual choice, so it's not just the default, it's your only option, who is threatened by the possibility? Like, who looks at this and goes, no, this is not what's good and right? What is it not good and right? Like, for whom?
Well, it's the status quo. It's the teachers union monopoly. They want to keep your kids trapped in their schools, which this bill in Missouri, it includes benefits for the school system in general, too. It includes teacher pay raises as well. So if you're going to try to say this is anti-public school teacher, that's actually the opposite. If you vote against this bill, then you're voting against the teacher pay raises that come along with it. But look, competition does improve the outcomes for the kids in the public schools too. This is a win-win solution. You obviously win when you get additional opportunities for your families to be able to choose a school that's aligned with their values, that the public school is not cutting it for whatever reason. But the public schools, if you keep your kid there, this is a benefit too. The teacher pay raises that are involved, but then also the overwhelming evidence showing that school choice is a rising tide that lifts all boats. It just so happens it could be that the teachers union bosses want something even more nefarious than the funding attached to your child. It is, I think that they believe that they can control the school system, they can control the future of the minds of those children and how they vote. So they're turning them into little Democrats through the school system. And so they're fearful of losing their monopoly on the money associated with their kids, but they're also fearful of losing the monopoly on the minds of other people's children. And I think that's even more important. And that's why conservatives in particular are passing school choice bills in red states. This is a red state school choice revolution. Some Democrats have voted for it, but all 11 states that have passed universal school choice in the past 3 years have been controlled by Republican legislatures. Mostly the Democrats vote against it, not all the time, but it is a GOP-led issue. They basically become the parents' party in this sense. And these states are behaving like the laboratories of democracy that our founders envisioned. They're engaging in red state friendly competition to empower more families with more options. And it's a great thing to see. Hopefully, as more Republicans win on the issue of education freedom, more Democrats come along as well. And we'll see more defectors. If all the Democrats were to turn around tomorrow and behave like Jason Hughes in Louisiana, who voted for school choice, the teachers unions would lose their control over them because if the Democrats would just do the right thing, if they all moved together, the teachers unions wouldn't be able to single out one or two of them and primary them. They'd have nowhere else to go.
We're speaking with the executive director at the Educational Freedom Institute, Corey DeAngelis. Check out federationforchildren.org. I want to give you the possibility here to respond to a comment from a listener. Paul says, most vouchers, something like 90%, are going toward middle-income folks that already attend a non-public school. It is theft of public funds. What do you think?
The money doesn't belong to the government schools. This is families getting their own taxpayers' dollars back to take to the institution that works best for them. That could be a public school if you want, but again, if not, you can take that to a private charter or home-based education option. That money does not belong to the government. The government doesn't pay for anything. This is taxpayer dollars going to where his specific critique is that, oh, well, some people are already paying out of pocket. Well, there are a lot of low-income families that pay for private schools out of pocket.
Yes,
who are barely getting by, scraping together funds, who might not be able to pay again for that tuition next year. This gives them an opportunity to stay in that environment that's working for their kids. And it might not even be all about academics. They might just want their kid in a safe environment that they don't get beat up or bullied every day. And there's a lot of reason why parents are choosing private schools for their kids. Academics, one of them. Safety is another issue. And then also families want to be able to send their kids maybe to a faith-based institution, an institution that aligns with their values in other ways as well. And let's say it does go to higher income folks. Well, you know what? They're paying taxes too. They should at least get some of that money back to take to a private school. No one should be forced to pay twice, once out of pocket for private school tuition and fees, and then again through the property tax system for a school that you're not even using. So my knee-jerk response to that argument is, who the heck cares? It's their money. Give it back to them.
Yeah. What does the government own and what does the government take, and who is responsible for theft here? Very, very good assessment,
Right.
Corey.
They get it completely backwards. If you want to call anything theft, it's them taking your money
Mm.
from you by force,
Yes.
and then taking your home away from you if you refuse to do so.
I think the listeners can hear my smile right now because that was just perfect. I want to ask you before we let you go, Corey DeAngelis with us right now. You're an incredible fighter for the idea of school choice. I do believe that it will strengthen public schools along with parents' ability to choose what's best for their own kids. I think the public schools would be better for it, and I don't think that they would all fail. I think that it would, as you say, be the rising tide. When you are speaking now specifically to the people of Missouri, is there an action item here for listeners right now who feel strongly about what you're saying and want to be supportive and help move this along? Is there something they can do?
Well, you got to call your legislator. It already passed the Missouri Senate overwhelmingly, a 19-10 vote, basically by 2-1 margins. It's now in the House. It has passed a committee already by an overwhelming vote of 6-2. Now it needs to go to the Missouri House floor and pass the entire chamber. I think that's going to happen, but you can always give your members an additional incentive to do so by calling them and saying, hey, I heard about school choice happening in Missouri. It's already passed the Senate. Let's get it done in the House as well. The speaker's already tweeted in support of the bill. So that's great news. Leadership is on board. But you can always pressure members to do the right thing and tell them, hey, this is a Republican Party issue. I'm a Republican voter. This is important to me. This is important to the success of our state and the success of our nation, ultimately, to educate our children properly. The bill is Senate Bill 727. So call your legislator in support of Senate Bill 727, particularly your House of Representative member.
Amen to that. Corey, thank you. So well spoken on this and always fighting. I get all of my local school choice opportunities that anytime there's a development across the state, you're the go-to for it. And we're grateful we had some time, or that you had some time for us here this afternoon on the show. Thanks for being here.
Absolutely. Thank you, Andy.